today our topic is lipid metabolism. So, I'm sorry for uploading this late. No, I had quite a time trying to get over that flu last week. So, ngayon medyo naka-recover na ako. So, I'll be going through the PowerPoint and I'll try to make it try to discuss it in such a way that will be easy to understand even with just one reading of the or one viewing of the video. Okay, but if you have difficulties, of course you can rewind since this is a recording anyway. Sorry. So here are the objectives for today's lecture. We want to have a brief review regarding some important lipids. We want to discuss how they are digested, how they're transported throughout the body. We also will be discussing yung components ng ating lipids, which is your fatty acids, how they're synthesized in the process of lipogenesis, and how they are broken down in the process of beta oxidation. We also will discuss yung ating cholesterol, which is an important lipid component of our cells, no? So your cholesterol is also very important to us as medtechs kasi this is the value that we usually will be measuring in the lab. So we'll discuss yung how cholesterol is synthesized as well as a little bit of clinical correlation on how cholesterol is controlled in our bodies, no? So let's have a brief review lang sa namin natin. We'll have a recall regarding important lipids. So the first one we will discuss is your we will recall about is your triacylglycerols, diba? So your triacylglycerols is part of your lipid panel, diba? Si triacylglycerol, ito yung triglycerides na minimeasure din. So your triglycerides, if you remember, this slide has already been shown to you during your lipids lecture. So your triglycerides are triesters of glycerol with three fatty acids. So triester, so tatlong ester bonds with three separate fatty acids. So triacyl, and then you have your glycerol, which is a 3-carbon molecule. Okay, so the location of your triacylglycerols are within your fat cells kasi when you eat something, they're usually triglycerides. They break them down into components, and then the components are built up back into triacylglycerols inside our body for storage into our fat cells. So itong fat cells natin, yung ating adipocytes we have mentioned before, are used in insulation, in protection of our organs, etc., as well as storage of energy. Okay? So yun. So may recall na tayo, diba? Natatandaan na natin kung ano yung triacylglycerols. So how do we go through the process of digestion of your fats, no? So in our diet kasi the primary fat component in our diet, aside from some of cholesterol, syempre, is your triglycerols. So when you eat, syempre, of course you start by taking in your food into the mouth. So and then the process is called mastication, which is chewing. So nguyain mo yung pagkain in order to make it smaller and smaller particles, diba? Parang yung mas maliit siya. Kasi hindi mo naman pwedeng kumain ka ng lechong kawali tapos lunok lang agad, diba? So syempre hindi pwede. So you have to chew it to make it smaller para din madali siya i-swallow. Okay? So for example, you ate something fatty, lechong kawali. Is there any chemical digestion that occurs in the mouth? The answer is no. Ang chemical digestion that occurs in the mouth is only in carbohydrates. Remember that. Kasi yung carbohydrates mo, for your carbohydrates, merong salivary amylase found in the mouth. For your lipids, there's no such thing as salivary lipase, no? So, sa mouth, salivary amylase lang yung meron. So, walang chemical digestion that occurs in the mouth. Rather, it's more of mechanical activity of your teeth, of your cheeks, of your tongue working together in order to make your food particles smaller. Okay? So, yun yung nangyayari sa ating dietary triacylglycerols in the mouth. Okay, so they're still part of the food that you ate. You just chewed them down into smaller food particles. Okay? And then, once you've done chewing, syempre, you swallow. Dadaan siya sa esophagus. So, pagdaan niya sa esophagus, wala naman nangyayaring digestion doon. Kahit residual digestion using your chemical enzymes, wala nangyayari kasi wala naman ng salivary, there's no such thing as salivary lipase. So, so your lipid digestion will actually resume in your stomach. So in the stomach, there are two things that digest your lipids. No, one is the churning action, or your movement of the muscles of your stomach in order to grind down the food particles into smaller fat droplets called chyme. Okay, so yung stomach it's a very mobile organ. It has 3 muscle layers. So meron siyang 3 muscle layers that contract thoroughly para ma-grind niya yung whatever food particles that enter the stomach. So in your lipid, if you ate something fatty, yung fat droplets found in the food that you ate, the fat that is found in the food that you ate will be broken down into smaller and smaller fat droplets. So dahil fat sila, hindi sila soluble in water, they tend to float on top of the other foods that you ate, the other food components. And the floating layer that you call is something you call chyme. So the chyme is a thick semi-liquid material made up of smaller triacylglycerol lobules as well as on top of other partially digested food and gastric secretions. So yung substance na yun yung tinatawag nating chyme. Okay? Another thing that works to digest your dietary triacylglycerols is the presence of your gastric lipases. Okay? So dito na tayo magsisimula maka-encounter ng mga lipases kasi marami tayong ma-encounter na lipases throughout our discussion, no? So, your gastric lipases hydrolyze a small amount of your triacylglycerols into monoacylglycerols, diba? If you recall, yung reactions of your triacylglycerols can undergo hydrolysis. So, hydrolysis, diba, gumamit ka ng water in order to lyse some of the bonds. So, if you lyse some of the bonds, but not all of them, you call that partial hydrolysis. If you lyse all of them, that's a complete hydrolysis. So so here, with your gastric lipase, it will hydrolyze your triacylglycerols to monoacylglycerols. So pag naging monoacylglycerol, ganyan siya. Ibig sabihin, this is just partial hydrolysis of your triglycerides. Okay? So what is the result? Then, you have some monoacylglycerols, you have some fatty acids, as well as fat droplets found in your chyme. Okay? Next, so after your stomach is done digesting, the time it takes your stomach to digest your fat depends on how fatty the food is, no? So the fattier the food, the longer it will take to digest kasi mas tatagalan ng stomach yung churning action niya, syempre so that way the person feels full for a longer period of time if they eat a fatty meal in comparison to if they eat something else, no? So next, 'di ba? So kumain ka, nasa stomach na siya, na-digest na siya ng stomach, what happens next? Your chyme will now go into your small intestine. And when your small intestine detects the presence of chyme, what happens? The presence of chyme will actually trigger the release of a hormone called cholecystokinin. So, cholecysto refers to the gallbladder. Kinin is sort of like movement. So, movement, kinin, kinetics, no? So, it stimulates your gallbladder in order to release yung tinatawag nating bile. So, alam ko, familiar na tayo sa bile since we've already discussed bile acids before. So, your bile is the emulsifying agent of your body, no? That is used to solubilize or make your fat droplets more soluble in water para para yung digestive enzymes natin, yung pancreatic lipases have better ability to interact with these fat droplets, no? So your pancreatic lipases hydrolyze the ester linkages between your glycerols and your fatty acids, thus producing more monoacylglycerols. Okay? So, same sila ng action halos ng gastric lipases, but your pancreatic lipase, of course, is more powerful and has better and is able to digest your fats more thoroughly kasi meron na tayo nung bile. So, dahil may bile ka, it's more soluble. There's fat droplets have been solubilized. Mas enhance yung activity ni pancreatic lipase compared to your gastric lipases. Kaya nga dito sa gastric lipases, nakalagay dito, 10% lang ng triacylglycerols yung ma-hydrolyze niya into monoacylglycerols. So, the rest will be hydrolyzed in the small intestines. And once naging monoacylglycerols na sila, and fatty acids, yung fatty acids and monoacylglycerols will be packaged into your fatty acid micelles. So di ba na discuss na rin natin yung structure ng micelles. You have hydrophilic heads and hydrophobic tails. Tapos nasa loob, dun naman matatagpuan yung mga monoacylglycerols and free fatty acids. So these micelles are small enough to be absorbed through the intestinal cell membrane. So, if you have an intestinal cell, for example, so here's your intestinal cell. Nyari, ganyan siya. So, it can now enter the intestinal cell. So, nasa loob na ngayon yung micelles mo, okay? So, the micelles, the micelles are then, your micelles again contain your monoacylglycerols and free fatty acids. So those components will then be repackaged once again into triacylglycerol. Okay? So ulitin natin. So when you eat something, it's triglycerides, di ba? So ida-digest siya by the action of your stomach and then your small intestine, the lipases there, into monoacylglycerols and free fatty acids. So yung monoacylglycerols and free fatty acids are now inside the micelle. So, yung micelle mo ngayon, they're small enough to be absorbed. So, ma-absorb sila inside the cell. Pag nasa loob na sila ng cell, yung monoacylglycerols and free fatty acids inside will be repackaged back into triglyceride. So, babalik nila sa ganitong form dahil yung triglycerol ngayon will now be packaged to form your chylomicrons. So, di ba sinabi natin in the lipoprotein, in the topic of lipoproteins during our protein lecture, your chylomicrons are conjugated proteins that contain lipids inside of them. And the chylomicrons, as we mentioned, the function of your chylomicrons is to transport exogenous or dietary triacylglycerols. So, yung triacylglycerols that we have digested will be packaged inside the chylomicron. So, ito yun, triacylglycerols found inside the chylomicron. Okay? Next. So, yung chylomicrons na yun, of course, meron siyang kasamang apoproteins as well as membrane lipids. So next. Once you have your chylomicrons, yung chylomicrons are now found inside your triacylglycerides rather are now found inside your chylomicrons. So, these chylomicrons now can be transferred to the circulation, no? So, kapag chylomicron na siya, pwede na siyang pumunta sa vessels connected to your intestinal cell. And what is found at the base of your intestinal cell? You find the lymphatic vessels actually. You call them the intestinal lacteals. So, your intestinal lacteals are tiny lymphatic vessels found underneath your intestinal cells where your chylomicrons are poured into, no? So, papunta siya sa intestinal lacteals and then dun sa intestinal lacteals, magdadrain na siya into the lymphatic system. So, and then, your lymphatic system will eventually drain into the bloodstream. And pag nasa bloodstream na siya, the chylomicrons will now circulate, no? And your circulating chylomicrons, once they encounter lipoprotein lipases found in the lining of your blood vessels, these lipoprotein lipases can hydrolyze the, the triacylglycerols and hydrolyze the triacylglycerols found inside the chylomicrons and convert it to free fatty acids and glycerol. So, those free fatty acids and glycerol in the bloodstream now can be absorbed by the nearby cells. Okay? So, let's have a rundown lang nung lipid transport with some visualization para mas madali nyo maintindihan. Okay? So, here is a quick view of your lipid transport, no? So, sabi natin, di ba, your dietary fat and cholesterol are digested, goes through the digestive tract, makes it smaller and smaller food droplets, eventually becoming your triacylglycerols eventually become monoacylglycerols or free fatty acids that are packaged into micelles. So, pag yung naging micelles na siya, pwede na siya mapasok sa intestinal cell and pag nasa loob na siya ng intestinal cell, the monoacylglycerols and free fatty acids are packaged back into triglycerides. So, pag triglycerides na siya, pwede na siya mapackage into chylomicron. The chylomicron, which is the carrier of your exogenous triglycerides. So, yung chylomicron na yon can now go out of the small intestinal cells and then it will be brought into the lymphatic vessels called lacteals. So, the lacteals are lymphatic vessels found in the intestines So, syempre, as part of the lymphatic system, they're all connected together. Eventually, the ultimate drainage point of the lymphatic vessels found in the stomach is the thoracic duct. So, the thoracic duct is a lymphatic duct found on your left shoulder. No? So, sa my left shoulder mo, your thoracic duct enters joins to a vein. So, yung veins that it joins into, it actually joins at the junction of the left internal jugular and the left subclavian vein. So, you have a lymphatic duct draining into a venous system. So, pag nakarating na siya sa venous system, now, your chylomicron is now in the bloodstream. And since it's already in the bloodstream, it will now enter your systemic circulation. Okay? So, your chylomicrons, when it enters the systemic circulation, syempre, may na-encounter siyang mga tinatawag nating lipoprotein lipases found in the vascular endothelial cells. So, itong lipoprotein lipase, as we mentioned earlier, are the ones that can hydrolyze the triglycerides found in your chylomicrons. So, pag hinhydrolyze na yung triglycerides found in the chylomicrons, it will release free fatty acids. So, yung free fatty acids na yun, pwede siyang kunin ng ating mga adipocytes para ma-sequester for storage. Okay? So, next. So, when your chylomicrons, habang hinahydrolyze, it becomes smaller and smaller until such time na konti na lang yung triglycerides available. It becomes a chylomicron remnant. So, your chylomicron remnant eventually goes into the liver. Okay? Next. Your liver is also capable of repackaging, making its own triglycerides. No? So, when it makes its own triglycerides, it uses another carrier called your VLDL. So, VLDL is very low density lipoprotein. It contains cholesterol esters as well as triglycerides. Yung ating endogenous or yung triglycerides made by our body. Okay? So, your VLDL will also circulate. It can also be exposed to lipoprotein lipase and kapag at such time pwede rin siyang give off ng free fatty acids. Okay? Next. Your VLDL when it gives off more and more triglycerides, its density becomes higher and higher. So from VLDL magiging IDL siya, which is intermediate density low lipoprotein, until pwede rin siya maging LDL or low density lipoprotein. So kapag yung cholesterol esters now predominate rather than triglycerides, you already have a low density lipoprotein, which is your bad cholesterol. Okay? So remember, we mentioned earlier that your LDL cholesterol is the one that transports cholesterol from the liver to the peripheral tissues, while your high density lipoprotein, not pictured here, aside from some of the other things, is the good cholesterol, because it transfers your cholesterol from tissue to the liver. Okay, next. So now let's go to triacylglycerol storage and mobilization. So what happens when you store your triglycerides? So you store your triglycerides in the form of your adipocytes. So adipocytes, your adipose cells, your fat cells. So how is it stored? So for example, di ba, you have a blood vessel here. May chylomicron dyan. Si blood vessel, merong lipoprotein lipase. So pag nag-act na si lipoprotein lipase, you form free fatty acids. So the free fatty acids are then imported into the to the adipose cell. So thus forming small fat droplets. So pag may fat droplets ka na form to import from your imported triglycerides and free fatty acids, your fat droplets can now fuse with a large central globule found in your adipocyte. So this one is an adipocyte. Before I forgot to mention, your adipocyte is also described as a signet ring. Kasi nga, this is so pag inisip mo, ito yung singsing, tapos ito yung butas ng singsing, no? Like yung lagay ng daliri mo. So, you call it a signet ring kasi para siyang may crest or parang gem dito sa dulo. Kaya sumukhang signet ring. Okay? So, the fat droplets merge into the central fat globule until such time na napupush away yung nucleus to the periphery. Kaya siya naging nagiging eccentric yung nucleus ng adipocytes natin. Okay? Next. So, to mobilize naman, your triacylglycerol, you require another type of lipase, which is your hormone-sensitive lipase. Okay? So, kung kanina, when you want to store your triacylglycerols, you use lipoprotein lipase. If you want to mobilize naman, so the one I mentioned earlier is from circulation into the adipocyte. Kapag magmo-mobilize ka naman, so from adipocyte to release of fatty acids in the bloodstream, the one you will use is your hormone-sensitive lipase. And the secretion of your hormone-sensitive lipase is influenced by the hormones epinephrine and glucagon. Kasi nga, for example, you're in times of stress, diba? So, may humahabol sa'yo na zombie. So, syempre, your body will need the energy in order to be able to outrun that zombie, no? So, your epinephrine actually favors mobilization of triacylglycerols, okay? Your glucagon then, if you recall, your glucagon is the hormone that increases your blood glucose. So, when will you need to increase your blood glucose? For example, you're already undergoing fasting na more than isang araw ka na, so naubos mo na lahat ng glycogen mo, you will need more energy, then you will start mobilizing your triacylglycerol stores, no? In order to compensate. Okay? Next. So, we've already mentioned triacylglycerol storage and mobilization. We've already mentioned that your triacylglycerols are broken down into component free fatty acids and glycerols. So, now let's go to the metabolism of your glycerol molecule. So, dun muna tayo sa glycerol before we go into the free fatty acid part, no? So, if you recall, your glycerol molecule is a 3-carbon molecule. Tapos, bawat carbon may nakakabit na OH. Okay? So, when you completely hydrolyze, as in you break all of the bonds of your triacylglycerol, you release one molecule of glycerol. Okay? Okay. So, this glycerol molecule in the bloodstream will now travel to the liver or kidneys and be converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So, what happens? You have your glycerol, di ba? Sabi natin, glycerol is a 3-carbon molecule with may tatlong OH. So, by the action of the first enzyme, glycerol kinase, so kinase will transfer a phosphate to your glycerol hanggang maging glycerol 3 phosphate siya. So, isang P ni ATP, dinagdag kay glycerol, naging glycerol 3 phosphate. And then, your glycerol 3 phosphate undergoes oxidation using the enzyme glycerol 3 phosphate dehydrogenase, kasi nga dehydrogenase, so this is an oxidation reaction. So, and when that happens, oxidation or dehydrogenation reaction. So, itong H dito sa carbon number 2 will be removed in order to produce a double bond. And then you will now have your dihydroxyacetone phosphate, which if you recall, remember, di ba? During the aldolase reaction, when you lyse your fructose 1,6 bisphosphate into 2 trioses, no? You produce your glyceraldehyde, you also produce your dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So once you have your dihydroxyacetone phosphate, you can actually proceed into the pathway of glycolysis, no? Or pwede rin, you can go up and go into the process of gluconeogenesis. Depende sa pangangailangan ng katawan natin. Okay? Into the breakdown of your fatty acids. No? So, since we already mentioned your glycerol, we'll break down the fatty acid portion naman. So, the breakdown of your fatty acids has 3 parts. First part is fatty acid activation. Then you have the fatty acid transport. And then you have the fatty acid oxidation. Kasi, of course, you remember, what happened is you broke down your fatty acids. No? So, these things are in the cytosol. So, hindi siya nasa bloodstream siya, tapos in-intake siya ng cell, so nasa loob siya ng cytosol. So, but the fatty acid oxidation actually occurs inside the mitochondria. So, meron tayong transport process ito. So, first, let's go through the fatty acid activation. So, this is a prerequisite reaction that is needed para ma-transport mo yung fatty acid into the mitochondria. Okay? So, fatty acid activation occurs doon sa outer mitochondrial membrane. If you remember the structure of your mitochondria, no? So, your outer mitochondrial. So, this is the mitochondria. You have an inner membrane and an outer membrane. So, yung inner membrane, yun yung may mga cristae, di ba? May infoldings. So, kung ganyan, kunyari, yung mitochondria mo, this is the outer membrane. So, this is the cytosol. So, nandito sa labas ng mitochondria, nandun yung mga free fatty acids. So, pwede silang dumikit doon sa may outer membrane of your mitochondria where fatty activation, acid activation occurs. So, what happens during fatty acid activation? Your fatty acid activation, what happens is your fatty acid is converted into a high energy derivative of coenzyme A. So, ano yung high energy derivative na yun? It's acyl-CoA. So, acyl-CoA is acyl, kasi diba sabi natin, triacyl glycerol. So, the acyl part, and then the glycerol, talaga yung glycerol, so acyl na lang yung natira. So, your free fatty acid will react with CoWash. So, yung acyl part of your free fatty acid will bind with, matatanggal ng H, ito will add to the S-CoA. So, magiging acyl-CoA siya. So, the acyl will react with CoWash to form your acyl-CoA. Pag acyl, variable yung carbon chain length. So, kung isa, dalawa, tatlo, apat, lima, kung gaano man kadaming carbons yan, that's an acyl-CoA. So, not to be confused with acetyl-CoA. Pag sinabing acetyl-CoA, dalawa lang yung carbons. Okay? So, pag sinabing acetyl-CoA, dalawang carbons. Pag any chain length, kung kanyari 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including your acetyl-CoA, including your mga 18, 19, 20 carbon chain length natin, that's your acyl-CoA, okay? And the enzyme that catalyzes this reaction, your fatty acid activation, is acyl-CoA synthetase. So, remember the acyl-CoA synthetase because this is a very important enzyme. And to activate your acyl-CoA synthetase to form this high-energy derivative, you will require 2 high-energy phosphate bonds. So, yung ADP mo, instead of being an ADP, diba? Sabi natin, pag nagtanggal ka ng isang bond, magiging ADP siya. Pag nagtanggal ka ng isa pa, magiging AMP siya. So, here, ma-expend mo agad is dalawang high-energy phosphate bonds agad. Okay? So, this one, the activation requires 2 ATPs. Okay? 2 ATP equivalents. Okay? So, next, you have your acyl-CoA na, no? So, yung fatty acid mo, nakakabit na siya sa coenzyme A. So, yung fatty acyl-CoA na yun, is too large in order to move across the inner mitochondrial membrane. Kasi yung beta oxidation pathway occurs in the mitochondrial matrix. Kailangan ipasok mo siya sa loob ng mitochondria mo, di ba? So, if you recall, the structure for mitochondria, di ba? Outer membrane is permeable, the inner membrane is impermeable. So, hindi niya kayang mag-diffuse lang across. And the acyl-CoA is also too large to move across the membrane unassisted. So, what happens? There is a protein shuttle that affects entry of acyl-CoA into the matrix. And that protein is your carnitine. Okay? So, what happens here? Your acyl part of your acyl-CoA is passed to a carnitine molecule. So, sasakay siya sa carnitine. Isasakay siya sa carnitine using the enzyme carnitine palmitoyl transferase. Okay? So, the rate limiting enzyme of your fatty acid oxidation is your carnitine palmitoyl transferase 1. So, this carnitine palmitoyl transferase 1 will catalyze this reaction. So, carnitine becomes an acyl-carnitine. Yung acyl ng acyl-CoA mo, kinabit mo sa carnitine, so naging acyl-carnitine na siya. So, itong si acyl-carnitine, dahil lang isa kanya na yung pasahero, pwede na siyang tumawid ng crossing, no? So, yung crossing na yun, yung tinatawag nating translocase. So, your fatty acyl-carnitine is shuttled through the membrane by the translocase. So, sa translocase siya dadaan. And then, once nakatawid na yung acyl-carnitine mo, the acyl group on the carnitine is transferred back to another coenzyme A para maging acyl-CoA na ulit siya. Okay? Para maging acyl-CoA na ulit siya, and then, mahiwalay na ulit yung original na carnitine molecule rather. Okay? Ulit. So, your carnitine, the acyl-CoA the acyl part of your acyl-CoA is passed on to carnitine to form acyl-carnitine. Yung acyl-carnitine mo will cross the inner mitochondrial membrane to form to end up in the matrix. Tapos yung acyl-carnitine mo will once again, the acyl group will now be passed back to a CoA molecule and thus reforming your acyl-CoA on the other side, as well as regenerating your carnitine. And the enzyme responsible for this one naman is carnitine palmitol transferase 2. So parehas lang sila, pero yung nasa labas, yun yung rate limiting enzyme. Yung nasa loob, pag nasa loob ka na ng matrix, yun is just number 2. Okay. So na-transfer mo na ngayon yung acyl-CoA mo. Your acyl-CoA is now located inside the mitochondrial matrix. Okay? So when you are inside the mitochondrial matrix, your fatty acid beta oxidation can now occur. Kasi sabi natin, the site of your beta oxidation is the mitochondrial matrix. So ano ba tong beta oxidation sinasabi ko? The beta oxidation is a reaction sequence that repeatedly cleaves 2 carbons at a time from the carboxyl end of an acyl-CoA molecule. So if you remember the structure of your fatty acids, di ba? Meron kang acyl-CoA. Sabi natin, meron kang acyl-CoA, di ba? Yun yung pumasok inside the mitochondrial matrix. So you have a C over here and a C double bond O. So this one is the length of your fatty acid beta oxidation. So ang gagawin ni fatty acid beta oxidation is it will cleave 2 carbons at a time. So ang mangyayari dito, balik sa ating sa molecule na to is magcha-chop-chop tayo. So magiging tigalawang molecule yan. Magiging 2 carbons. So magiging 2 carbon na yun ay acetyl-CoA. So yung acetyl-CoA kasi sabi natin so acetyl-CoA, di ba? Sabi natin 2 carbon molecule. So for example, this one. So, acetyl is a 2-carbon molecule. So, hati mo dyan, tapos ito ulit, So, tapos, ito ulit, tapos ito ulit, etc. So, ganun yung nangyayari sa fatty acid beta oxidation. So, what are the carriers used for the intermediates? So, the carrier is your coenzyme A. What are the oxidizing agents used in fatty acid beta oxidation? You will use FAD and NAD. Okay? So, FAD and NAD are the oxidizing agents. So, what is the sequence of reactions that are repeated in your fatty acid beta oxidation? So, the first reaction is actually oxidation, followed by hydration, followed by another oxidation, and followed by thiolysis. So, pwede rin siyang tawaging dehydrogenation, hydration, dehydrogenation, and then thiolysis. So, yung oxidation and dehydrogenation, parehas lang sila. Okay? So, for each repetition of your fatty acid beta oxidation cycle, you will produce 1 molecule of acetyl-CoA. So, kasi yun na yung 2 carbons na kinleave mo sa kanya. And then, you have an acyl-CoA that is 2 carbons shorter. Syempre, kasi tinanggal mo na yung 2 carbon. Okay? So, let's go through the reactions of your fatty acid beta oxidation sequence. Now, bakit hindi pala siya tinatawag na beta oxidation cycle? Hindi siya kasi cycle. Kasi, yung acyl-CoA that you produce each time is different from each other. Diba? So, kung, for example, you have a 16 carbon na fatty acid dyan. So, at the end of the cycle, you'll have an acetyl-CoA plus a 14 carbon acyl-CoA. And then, pag inulit mo ulit, you'll form another acetyl-CoA and then, plus a 12 carbon na lang. Tapos, pag inulit mo ulit, yung 12 carbon na yon magiging 10 carbon na lang and you have another acetyl-CoA. So, pag nag-chop-chop ka, nababawasan siya ng 2 carbons at a time. So, ganun yung nangyayari sa fatty acid beta oxidation. Okay? So, let's go through the reactions of your fatty acid beta oxidation. The first reaction is dehydrogenation, or also known as oxidation. Okay? So, tandaan nyo, dehydrogenation is also an oxidation reaction if we're talking about your organic molecules. So, what happens here? By the action of the enzyme acyl-CoA dehydrogenase and using the oxidizing agent FAD, hydrogen atoms are removed from the alpha and beta carbons of your acyl-CoA. So, if you recall, this is the acyl-CoA, this is the CoWash part, this is the carboxyl group. So, the carbon beside that is the alpha carbon, and the carbon beside the alpha is the beta. Alpha, beta, etc., 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 diba? So, kasi nasa dulo yung omega carbon. So Greek alphabet yung numbering or renaming nung per carbon dyan. Okay, so, the one closest to the carbon C double bond O is the alpha carbon. The carbon after that is the beta. So, itong beta na to, kaya tayo na tinawag na beta oxidation kasi yan yung central point of the reactions that we will be encountering in this pathway. Okay? So, here, your acyl-CoA dehydrogenase will remove hydrogen atoms from both the alpha and beta carbon in a trans configuration. So, ang tatanggalin niya, isang H on this side and an H on the other side in order to form a trans double bond. Okay? So, remember, your enzymes here, most of them are stereo-specific in that your acyl-CoA dehydrogenase will only form trans-enoyl-CoA. It will not form cis-enoyl-CoA. Okay? Okay, ulitin natin. Acyl-CoA, when acted upon by the oxidizing agent FAD and acyl-CoA dehydrogenase will form a trans-double bond on the alpha and between the alpha and beta carbons. Okay? Next. So, for step 2 naman, and this reaction is a hydration reaction. So, hydration, pag hydration, you add, you add water, no? Sabi na hydration, di ba? When you hydrate, you drink more water. So, here, you give water to the reaction, you add water, the reaction is hydration. And the enzyme responsible for hydration in this step is enoyl-CoA hydratase. Okay? So, kanina yung product natin is trans-enoyl-CoA. So, we add hydrogen, we add water across the trans double bond. So, yung H nasa isang side, yung OH nasa kabilang side. Okay, kanina diba tinanggal natin dalawang H. So, ito, dito, pinanta naman natin siya. Naging H and isang OH. So, the hydrogen molecule is added across the trans double bond, producing a secondary alcohol. So, may secondary alcohol ka, tandaan mo, yung secondary alcohol is located on the beta carbons. Pag tinanong ako nasaan yung bond, yung or anything, tandaan nyo, nandun sa beta carbon yung nangyayari. Kasi this is beta oxidation. Okay? So, another thing to remember about your enoyl-CoA hydratase is that its product is stereospecific. So, if it encounters a trans-enoyl-CoA, it will produce a levo isomer of your L-beta hydroxyacyl-CoA. Kapag cis-enoyl-CoA yung na-encounter niya, it will produce a D-isomer. So, sa katawan natin, usually, ang ginagawa is a trans-enoyl-CoA. Therefore, usually, ang nagagawa is L-beta hydroxyacyl-CoA. Okay? Next. So, the third reaction in our fatty acid oxidation sequence is another oxidation reaction or dehydrogenation. So, here, may tinanggal na naman tayong hydrogen kasi dehydrogenation siya. At may na-oxidize na naman tayo. May oxidation na naman na nangyari. This time, we are using NAD as the oxidizing agent rather than FAD. Kanina, sa step 1, the oxidizing agent is FAD. Sa step 3, the oxidizing agent is NAD. So, oxidation that occurs as well as dehydrogenation. So, here, dehydrogenation, you remove the hydrogen doon sa beta carbon lang. So, kanina, di ba, yung tinimove natin hydrogen, isa sa alpha, isa sa beta. Here, in step 3, the hydrogen is removed from the beta carbon only. Okay? So, pag tinanggal mo yung hydrogen here and another hydrogen here using the enzyme beta hydroxyacyl-CoA dehydrogenase, what happens is you form a keto group. Kasi, syempre, nawala na yung H. So, nawala na yung H dito. So, you will need to form a double bond over here. Okay? So, now that you remove the two hydrogen atoms, the beta hydroxy becomes a ketone. Okay? Next. So, the fourth step of your fatty acid beta oxidation pathway is now what you call thiolysis. So, thiolysis, dito na natin kinikleave yung keto, yung acetyl-CoA part. Okay? So, here in this reaction, the enzyme responsible is your thiolase. And the reaction requires the presence of another CoA. So, your coenzyme A will react with the beta-keto-acyl-CoA molecule. So, anong mangyayari? Itong co-wash na to, so, from this end, sisingit siya ngayon dito in order to bind to the rest of your acyl-CoA. So, ang mangyayari, magkakaroon ng breakage or lysis of the bonds in between the alpha and the beta carbon. So, tandaan nyo, lahat ng nangyayari sa beta oxidation revolves around the beta carbon. So, if you're talking about the bond, it's the bond between the alpha and the beta. Okay? So, basta yung tatandaan nyo is the beta carbon. Okay, kaya that's why it's called beta oxidation. Okay, so your beta keto acyl-CoA is cleaved by thiolase and co-wash to form an acetyl-CoA and an acyl-CoA with 2 fewer carbon atoms. Kasi nga, tinanggal mo na yung dalawa. So, and then, this new acetyl-CoA, your acetyl-CoA can now proceed to whatever the body wants with it. And then, you have your remaining acyl-CoA can actually get recycled through the same set of reactions. So, pwedeng, dahil may acyl-CoA ka na ulit, so kung kanina, your acyl-CoA is, for example, it's 18 carbons long, magiging 16 carbons na lang siya. So, yung 16 carbon na yun, pwede na siya pumasok ulit into oxidation. So, 16 carbon na ma-oxidize siya ulit, magiging trans-enol-CoA siya, mag-undergo siya ulit ng hydration, mag-undergo siya ulit ng oxidation, and then mag-undergo siya ulit ng thiolysis. Pag tinayolysis mo na ngayon si 16, magma-2 na ulit, so magiging 14 na lang siya. So, yung 14 carbon na acyl-CoA na yun, pwede siya ulit pumasok ng oxidation ulit, and then it will undergo hydration, and then and then oxidation again, and then thiolysis, yung 14 mo magiging 12 na lang. So, paulit-ulit yon hanggang maubos, hanggang marating mo yung dulo. Okay? And the last one, kapag, for example, 4 carbons na lang, tapos ng thiolysis ka, magiging 2 acetyl-CoA na lang siya. Kasi 4 minus 2 is 2. And if you have a 2 carbon na acyl-CoA, that's an acetyl-CoA. So, magiging 2 acetyl-CoA yung product niya. Okay? So, here are the beta oxidation spiral steps. So, here, you have an acyl-CoA undergoing dehydrogenation or oxidation using the coenzyme FAD. Rather, using your FAD as the oxidizing agent. Okay? Next. And then after that, after undergoing dehydrogenation, trans-enol-CoA will undergo hydration to produce to remove the double bond. So, pag na-remove nyo na yung double bond, the OH, there will be an OH on the there will be a secondary alcohol on the beta carbon to produce your L-beta hydroxyacyl-CoA. And then your L-beta hydroxyacyl-CoA will undergo dehydration again, this time using NAD, in order to form your beta keto acyl-CoA. And then this beta keto acyl-CoA, what happens then is you use co-wash in order to cleave the molecule into two. No? So, using the enzyme thiolase. So, pag nahati mo na siya, you form an acetyl-CoA and a new acyl-CoA that is 2 carbons fewer than the original. So, tandaan nyo, tignan dito. This one is a C18 molecule. Pagkatapos ng thiolysis, magiging C16 na lang siya plus a separate acetyl-CoA. So, pag inulit mo ulit yung cycle all over, yung 16 na yun magiging 14 plus you produce an acetyl-CoA. Pag inulit mo ulit, yung 12 magiging, yung 14 magiging 12 plus acetyl-CoA. Pag inulit mo ulit, yung 12 magiging 10 plus acetyl-CoA. Pag inulit mo ulit, yung 10 magiging 8 plus acetyl-CoA. Pag inulit mo ulit, yung 8 magiging 6 plus acetyl-CoA. And then, pag inulit mo ulit, you have your 4 plus acetyl-CoA. So, tas dito, pag inulit mo ulit, magiging C2 plus acetyl-CoA. Pero we know that C2 is also acetyl-CoA. So, that magiging, ibig sabihin, dalawa yung acetyl-CoA produced in the last step. Okay? So, how is the ATP production? How do you compute for the ATP produced during the oxidation of your fatty acid? So, remember natin yung mga napoproduce. Siyempre, compute natin yung naproduce na FADH2, yung naproduce na NADH, kasi they can all enter the electron transfer chain. No? So let's go through the products of your fatty acid beta oxidation. So, each turn of the sequence will produce isang FADH in step 1, isang NADH in step 3, and then isang acetyl-CoA at the end dun sa thiolysis step. Okay? So, and then the final turn will produce the same thing except meron isa pang extrang acetyl-CoA. Okay? So, if you for example, you have a stearic acid. So, your stearic acid has how many carbons? Do you remember how many carbons your stearic acid has? So, your stearic acid is an 18 carbon molecule. No? So, your stearic acid is an 18 carbon molecule. In order to divide your 18 carbon molecule, so, kailangan mo ng how many repetitions? Kailangan mo ng 8 repetitions. Kasi if you remember, yung last step mo will produce 2. Okay, so 18 divided by 2, that's 9. Pero dahil yung last step mo will produce 2, yung minus 1. So, magiging 8 siya. Okay? So, sabi natin, di ba, tigalawa. So, 1, 18, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and then this one is 18. Okay, so how many repetitions do you need in order to divide your stearic acid? Then that will be 8 repetitions. Okay, so if you count kung ilan lahat-lahat na produce in 8 repetitions, syempre you will produce 8 FADH2, you will produce 8 NADH, and you will produce 9 acetyl-CoA. Okay, next. So how do you compute for the energy produced by the 8 repetitions? Syempre, yung conversion factors natin, no? For each FADH2, when it enters the ETC, you will produce 1.5 ATP because it enters via complex 2. For each NADH, it enters via complex 1, so you produce 2.5 ATP for each. So, you multiply, no? So, for each acetyl-CoA that enters the Krebs cycle, you produce 10 ATP, so that's 90. So, 8 FADH produce 1.5 ATP each, that's 12 ATP. And then for each NADH, you produce 2.5 ATP, so that's a total of 20. And when you add all of them, the gross amount of ATP produced is 122. Pero syempre, if you remember, during the fatty acid activation step, we consumed 2 high energy phosphate bonds, diba? In order to activate the fatty acid. So, during activation, we consumed 2 ATPs. Therefore, the net ATP production from the oxidation of stearic acid and 18 carbon fatty acid, the net ATP production is actually 120. So, diba? Ang dami niyang na-store na energy from just one molecule of fatty acid, of stearic acid. Okay? Next. So, yung diniscuss natin kanina, yung mga ano lang yun, unsaturated fatty acids lang yun. So, paano na, mga saturated fatty acids lang yun. Completely straight chain, walang double bonds, walang kinks. What happens naman if you have unsaturated fatty acids? How do you oxidize your unsaturated fatty acids? This is what happens. Unsaturated fatty acids, no? So, since we discussed earlier, yung saturated fatty acid, beta oxidation lang yun. What about your fatty acids na merong double bonds, no? So, in order to oxidize those, you will require 2 additional enzymes. The first one is cis-trans isomerase. So, for the reaction of your beta oxidation, kailangan mo kasi yung trans double bond is located at an even numbered position. So, if you have a double bond that is located at an odd numbered position, what cis-trans isomerase does is it moves the double bond into a position that is odd numbered, and at the same time makes the cis double bond into a trans double bond. So, as you can see here, so this one is a cis double bond. Sabi natin, di ba, pag cis on the same side, naka-attach sa kanya. So, and as you can see here, nasa odd number yung position ng double bond. So, what this bond with cis-trans isomerase does is it will move the double bond into an even numbered position. At the same time, it will attach in a manner that it is already in trans position. Kasi, di ba, sabi natin dito, sa step 2 ng ating fatty acid beta oxidation, you will actually have your enoyl-CoA hydratase is stereospecific in that it will require a trans double bond. So, para maging trans double bond siya, kailangan mo ng ng cis-trans isomerase. So, then, you have a trans enoyl-CoA here. Pwede na siya mag-proceed to step 2 and step 3. Okay? Next. So, here naman, if you have deconfiguration, sabi natin, di ba, stereospecific yung mga enzymes in the beta oxidation pathway. So, here in your epimerase will convert a deconfiguration beta hydroxyacyl-CoA into an L-beta hydroxyacyl-CoA. So, in order for it to be able to proceed with step 3. Diba sabi natin kanina, itong si beta hydroxyacyl-CoA dehydrogenase is stereospecific for the L isomer. So, kailangan, kung may man siya ma-encounter na beta hydroxyacyl-CoA, kailangan in L form yun. So, here, if meron ka mang dextro form nung beta-hydroxyacyl-CoA, pwede siyang i-convert into L-beta-hydroxyacyl-CoA by the enzyme epimerase para pwede na siyang mag-proceed into the reaction. Okay? So, pwede na siyang ma-actapan ng beta-hydroxy-CoA dehydrogenase. Okay? Next. So, tapos na tayo dun sa unsaturated fatty acids. Let's talk about the fates of the fatty acids generated by your acetyl-CoA. So, alam natin, if you have an acetyl-CoA, siya yung first part, siya yung nagko-combine with oxaloacetate in the first part of your tricarboxylic acid cycle. So your acetyl-CoA can undergo further processing through the common metabolic pathways in order to obtain ATP. Okay? Acetyl-CoA combines with oxaloacetate to form citrate. Citrate is the starting substrate in making your oxaloacetate. And then pag yung mga intermediates of your Krebs cycle can enter the electron transfer chain and then undergo oxidative phosphorylation. Okay? Another fate of your acetyl-CoA is the conversion into something we call ketone bodies. So, yung ketone bodies is the next thing that we will be discussing. So, skip muna natin yung part na yun. Your acetyl-CoA can also be stored in the body in the form of triacyl glycerols. Okay? So later on, you will see kung paano natin siya i-store. Your acetyl-CoA can also be used as the starting material of other lipids. So, ito, makikita rin natin sa mga susunod na topics na i-discuss natin throughout this lecture. Okay? So, let's go nang through how energy is utilized in various organs. Isingit ko lang to. Okay? So your various organs have preferential forms of fuel that they use. So, for your skeletal muscle, in the active state, it prefers to use glucose, especially from the muscle derived from glycogenolysis of the nearby muscle glycogens. In resting state, your skeletal muscle will choose to utilize fats kasi yung fatty acids will produce more energy. Okay? Your cardiac muscle naman preferentially uses fatty acid in order to utilize energy. So, dun nga gagaling yung glucose na kinukuha. Okay? So, cardiac muscle can also utilize ketone bodies as an alternative form of energy. They can also utilize glucose itself from the bloodstream as well as lactate. Okay? Your liver also prefers to use fatty acids. Your brain prefers glucose, syempre. Okay? So, kasi yung glucose, maliit lang. So, pwede siya mag-diffuse across the blood-brain barrier. Another thing that can diffuse across the blood-brain barrier is your ketone bodies. So, your fatty acids cannot be used by the brain, even though your brain is fatty, because your fatty acids are big. So, they cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. Okay? Next. So, let's go discuss itong ketone bodies na sinasabi natin pwedeng gawing fuel ng cardiac muscle at ng brain. So, your ketone bodies are produced when there's too much acetyl-CoA in the body. Okay, so let's recall that for acetyl-CoA to enter the Krebs cycle, there must be adequate amounts of oxaloacetate. Kasi di ba yung reaction in the first step of your Krebs cycle, oxaloacetate will react with acetyl-CoA in order to produce citrate. So, para pumasok si acetyl-CoA into the Krebs cycle, kailangan meron ka ngayong oxaloacetate. And where is oxaloacetate derived from? It depends on the production of pyruvate. Di ba naalala niyo yung production? Yung glycolysis pathway, in the glycolysis pathway, you have phosphoenol pyruvate, and then you have your pyruvate. So, pag marami kang pyruvate, your pyruvate has different fates, and one of the fates is go back into gluconeogenesis to form oxaloacetate. Tapos yung oxaloacetate can be converted back into phosphoenol pyruvate. So, the concentration of this oxaloacetate actually depends on how much pyruvate has been produced. During your glycolysis. Okay? So, there has to be a balance. Between your acetyl-CoA and the oxaloacetate para tuloy-tuloy na puro sa Krebs cycle siya napupunta. Pero there are some states that tend to upset this balance. No? So, here are some of the conditions that tend to upset the balance of your acetyl-CoA and oxaloacetate. If you have a dietary intake high in fat and low in carbohydrates, pag marami kang fat, you have more tendency to burn it. Kaya siya nag-undergo ng fatty acid oxidation Pag mas marami kang fatty acid oxidation, then you will have more acetyl-CoA. As we mentioned earlier, di ba, yung product ng fatty acid oxidation natin kanina is acetyl-CoA. Okay, next. In diabetic conditions, you have glucose intolerance. So, glucose intolerance or rather low levels of insulin kaya hindi mo ma-absorb yung glucose. Hindi magamit ng cells mo yung glucose. So this ketosis actually more of occurs on type 1 diabetes mellitus. So type 1 diabetes mellitus, rather than glucose intolerance, you have low insulin, therefore build up of glucose in your blood vessels. So marami kang glucose in your blood vessels inside your circulation, pero you cannot use them. So dahil hindi mo magamit yung glucose, hindi magamit ng cells mo, iniisip niya, wala siyang energy. Kahit na marami naman talaga siyang glucose. Kahit mataas yung sugar niya, hindi niya magamit, hindi niya maipasok sa loob ng cells for utilization. So what the tendency of your body is to think na, the tendency of your cells is to think na wala silang nare-receive na glucose. So the tendency is for the body to undergo more fatty acid oxidation para mag-provide ng energy at tumataas lalo yung acetyl-CoA in the blood. Okay? Next. In states of prolonged fasting or starvation, or pag naubos na yung glycogen mo, of course, your body will start burning down your triglyceride store. So, magkakaroon na ng fatty acid oxidation, and pag mas maraming fatty acid oxidation, then there will be more acetyl-CoA. So, in these states, dumadami yung tinatawag nating ketone bodies. So, if there's too much acetyl-CoA to be processed, the excess of this acetyl-CoA is diverted to the formation of ketone bodies. So, yung 3 ketone bodies that we are concerned with is your acetoacetate, your beta-hydroxybutyrate, and acetone. So, if you look at this, no, so, here in these reactions, you have your 3 important ketone bodies. Ang pinakamarami dito actually, is your acetoacetate and your beta-hydroxybutyrate. Si acetone is very volatile. So, magkaroon man siya konti lang, tapos eventually it will be released in the breath kasi volatile siya. So, marirelease siya during respiration. Okay? So how do you produce your ketone bodies? So, during ketogenesis at the liver mitochondria. So, pero mamaya natin daanan yung process of ketogenesis. No? So, how do you produce these 3 parts? Usually, here, your acetoacetate, tandaan nyo yung ketone bodies kasi meron siya mga ketone group. Okay? So, acetone is a ketone. Beta-hydroxybutyrate is technically not a ketone. This is a carboxylic acid, diba? This is a carboxylate ion. So, pag may H yan, that's a carboxylic acid. So, technically, this is not a ketone. So, bakit siya kasama sa ketone bodies? Kasi, your acetoacetate is converted to beta-hydroxybutyrate by the using a reducing agent. Okay? So here, you have your acetoacetate converted to beta-hydroxybutyrate, and then your acetoacetate can also give rise to acetone. Okay? So, your beta-hydroxybutyrate, despite not being actually a ketone, despite being a carboxylic acid, is also counted as part of your ketone bodies kasi galing siya sa acetoacetate, which is a keto. Okay? So, itong ketogenesis, there's only 4 steps. So, it's very easy to remember. The first 2 steps are condensation reactions. The first condensation reaction is catalyzed by thiolase. You have an acetyl-CoA plus an acetyl-CoA. You produce an acetoacetyl-CoA. 2 carbon, magiging 4 carbon na CoA. Okay? So, acetoacetyl-CoA. Next, pag may acetoacetyl-CoA ka, you add another acetyl-CoA. So, bale, 3 acetyl-CoA na yung pinagsama-sama mo by the time step 2 is over. So, another condensation reaction. This time, the enzyme is HMG-CoA synthase. So, then, since HMG-CoA synthase is the enzyme, the product is your HMG-CoA. Okay? Next, you have your HMG-CoA. It will undergo now your chain cleavage. So, what happens here? You have your HMG-CoA lyase, diba? Sabi natin, pag may cleavage, usually the enzyme is a lyase. Kasi it breaks down your molecules. So, you have a lyase over here. Hatiin niya sa HMG-CoA in order to produce an acetoacetate and a separate acetyl-CoA. Okay? Next. So, now meron ka ng acetoacetate. Your acetoacetate is one of the, yung sinabi natin, ketone bodies, no? So by this point, meron na tayong isa sa tatlong ketone bodies. Now, the next ketone body is is produced, yung beta hydroxybutyrate natin is produced using a dehydrogenation / oxidation reaction using the enzyme HMG-CoA. Rather, is produced using a hydrogenation / reduction reaction using the enzyme HMG-CoA dehydrogenase. So here one is hydrogenation. So itong hydrogens from the NADH is added to the acetoacetate in order to produce your beta hydroxybutyrate. So your beta hydroxybutyrate is another one of your ketone bodies. Diba? Sabi natin dito. So you already have your acetoacetate and then you have your beta hydroxybutyrate. So what about acetone? Acetone is produced from the decarboxylation. So tatanggalin mo lang yung carbon dioxide sa dulo ng acetoacetate in order to form your acetone. Okay? So here are the steps. You have two acetyl-CoAs, C2. Pag pinagsama mo sila using condensation, the enzyme is styrase, you form acetoacetyl-CoA. The acetoacetyl-CoA, pag dinagdagan mo ng isa pang acetyl-CoA, you form 3-hydroxy-3-methylglutaryl-CoA, also known as HMG-CoA, produced using the enzyme HMG-CoA synthase. Okay? And then your HMG-CoA is cut using the enzyme HMG-CoA lyase in order to form acetyl-CoA and acetoacetate. So acetoacetate can undergo hydrogenation or reduction in order to form beta hydroxybutyrate. Okay? So yun yung production of your ketone bodies. Okay? So next. So under normal metabolic conditions, the concentration of your ketone bodies is actually very low. Kasi kasi nga mayroon tayong mini-maintain na balance na pag dumami acetyl-CoA mo, dadaan siya ng common metabolic pathways, no? Dadaan siya ng Krebs cycle, gagawa siya ng energy through the electron transfer chain, etc. Pero, if there is too much acetyl-CoA, you form too much ketone bodies then. And, so, instead of the normal na 1 mg per 100 ml lang yung level of ketone bodies in the blood, pwede siyang umakyat. Pag umabot siya ng 20 mg per 500 ml, you will have what you call ketonemia. So, wherein there is excess of ketone bodies in the blood. Okay? So, dito sa, if you have excess ketone bodies in the blood, so pag emia, syempre marami ka sa blood. Pag emia refers to the level in the blood. So, pag marami kang ketone bodies in the blood, that's ketonemia. Pag marami kang ketone bodies in the urine na, yun, sobrang taas na ng ketone bodies mo, 70, lumalampas na siya sa threshold na kayang i-hold back ng iyong kidney. So, tinatawag natin renal threshold, and it starts appearing in your urine. Kapag meron kang ketone bodies in the urine, you call that ketonuria. Okay? So, ito sa mga findings na nakikita natin sa mga pasyenteng may diabetes mellitus. Lalo na pag yung mga hindi umiinom ng maintenance medicines nila. So, di ba, pag nagpa-urinalysis, makikita mo doon, meron doon sa strip nila, aside from the level of glucose, makikita mo, pwede rin merong ketones in the urine. So, pag may ketones in the urine, ibig sabihin, there are ketone bodies na. So, mataas na yung, the patient is undergoing ketosis. So, marami na siyang ketones in the urine. Okay? Next. So, ketosis na, if there are high levels of ketone bodies present in both blood and the urine. And one particular finding that you see in these patients is detected by the smell of acetone or a fruity odor in the breath. So, pag sinabing acetone breath or fruity odor yung breath ng pasyente mo, baka mamaya he or she is already undergoing ketosis. So another complication of your ketosis, yun tinatawag na natin ketoacidosis, no? So, pag naging the levels are so high of your ketones, that particularly your acetoacetate and your beta hydroxybutyric acid. So, pag tumaas yung level nun, those are actually, di ba sabi natin, acetoacetate, if you look at the structure, your acetoacetate has a carboxylic acid and your beta hydroxybutyrate has a carboxylic acid. So, pag marami kang acids in your blood, that can eventually affect the blood pH. So, pag bumaba yung blood pH because of the high amounts of the keto acids, si acetate and si beta hydroxybutyrate, pag acid form, acetoacetic acid and beta-hydroxybutyric acid, bababa yung pH ng individual. So eventually, this is a very toxic looking presentation yung pasyente na may ketoacidosis. It can eventually lead to coma and death if left untreated. So in these patients, we want to hydrate them as much as hydrate them at the same time load them with insulin para bumaba yung blood glucose level nila, para hindi sila masyadong mag-undergo ng ketosis, para magamit kasi yun, kasi pag niload mo sila ng insulin, makakapasok na ngayon yung glucose in the cells, diba? So pag napasok na yung glucose in the cells, there will be less need for your cells to undergo beta oxidation. So mas mababa yung acetyl-CoA. So pag mas konti yung acetyl-CoA, there is less tendency to undergo ketosis. At the same time, we want to hydrate these patients kasi yung gusto natin ma-dilute yung pH nila para hindi masyadong acidic. Okay. So itong mga pasyente to, na-confine to, syempre. Kasi, this is life-threatening condition. Okay? Next. So, let's discuss the biosynthesis of fatty acids. So, this process happens when their dietary intake exceeds the energy requirements of the body. So, diba, during the recent months, diba, nag-start na yung planner season ng Starbucks. So, everyone and their mothers are trying to finish yung mga planner sticker sheets natin para makakuha ng libreng planner or yung mga tumbler, kung ano man yung freebies nila sa Starbucks, sa CBTL, etc. So, when that happens, araw-araw ka nagpo-frap, araw-araw ka nag-aano, you're exceeding the required dietary intake of your body. Meron kang excess calories that you are taking from the food. From everything that you eat. So, yung excess calories na yun, your calories, well, doon man tayo sa requirements mo, no? So, marami kang, you already ate lunch, tas nag-Starbucks ka, so, anything you already ate is already in excess of what your body needs. So, sobra-sobra na yung sobra-sobra na yung glucose, sobra-sobra na yung napoproduce na pyruvate, at napoproduce na acetyl-CoA from that. So, the acetyl-CoA can go either A, into lipogenesis, or it can go B, into the production of your ketone bodies. So, here, when there is excess acetyl-CoA, because marami ka ng na-intake na calories from your diet, the body will start trying to save that for future use. Para if ever you go into fasting, if you go into a starvation state, meron siyang energy na pwede niyang i-burn in the form of your fats. So here, so that is what happens. Your body will undergo lipogenesis. Your body will make your fatty acids that they can put into triglycerides for storage as energy for future use. Okay, so what is lipogenesis? It's the pathway by which fatty acids are synthesized. And the raw material, as we mentioned, is your acetyl-CoA. So where does this process happen? It occurs in the cytosol. So, and the enzyme complex responsible for the repetitive steps. So, yung repetitive steps lang ang kinakatalyze itong reaction to. The enzyme complex responsible is your fatty acid synthase. So itong si lipogenesis, as I mentioned, meron din siyang repetitive steps in the same vein as your beta oxidation. Kasi diba sa beta oxidation, you have the repetitive steps of oxidation, hydration, oxidation, thaiolysis, oxidation, hydration, oxidation, thaiolysis. Paulit-ulit na nangyayari siya until matadtad mo na yung fatty acids mo. You remove 2 carbons at a time in the beta oxidation pathway. Here in lipogenesis, you are adding more and more carbons until you reach the desired length of the fatty acid. So, ganun. So, here, meron din tayong repeated steps. Condensation, reduction, dehydration, reduction. Yun naman yung repeated steps in the lipogenesis. Okay? The carrier being used for beta oxidation was coenzyme A. Pero dito, sa lipogenesis, the carrier that we will use for the intermediates of the pathway is something we call the acyl carrier protein. The short form is ACP. Okay? So, sa beta oxidation, we used FAD and NAD for 2 of the reactions. Dito sa lipogenesis, we will be using NADPH as the reducing agent. Okay? So, let's start with how your lipogenesis occurs. So, sabi natin, lipogenesis occurs in the cytoplasm. That's why, in the cytosol, that's why, kailangan, in order for the acetyl-CoA generated, in order to make your fatty acids from the acetyl-CoA, kailangan i-move mo yung acetyl-CoA kasi your acetyl-CoA is generated in the mitochondria. So, once you have the acetyl-CoA from the mitochondria, you want to shuttle it across the mitochondrial membranes para makarating siya sa cytosol. And what enables that? It's the citrate-malate shuttle system. So, the citrate-malate shuttle system allows acetyl-CoA generated in the mitochondria to be transported into the cytosol. So, what happens here? You have your oxaloacetate reacting with acetyl-CoA. So, the acetyl-CoA is the raw material we have for your lipogenesis. Your acetyl-CoA reacts with oxaloacetate to form citrate. So, I'm sure you've already seen this reaction several times already. This is the first step of your Krebs cycle. Okay, so the citrate can proceed to the Krebs cycle, pero since sabi natin, we already are in excess of energy, hindi na niya kailangan mag-proceed into the Krebs cycle. Rather, the citrate can be shuttled across by the citrate transporter found in the inner mitochondrial membrane para mailabas siya ng mitochondria. So, remember, the inner membrane is impermeable, the outer membrane is more freely permeable. So, once mailabas mo na si citrate, maitawid mo na si citrate sa inner mitochondrial membrane, it can simply diffuse out of the mitochondria and go into the cytosol. Okay? So, once your citrate is in the cytosol, it can be used to regenerate oxaloacetate and in the process, reform the acetyl-CoA on the other side of the membrane. Kaya ngayon, yung acetyl-CoA mo is already in the cytosol. Therefore, it can freely enter fatty acid biosynthesis. Okay? So, tuloy muna natin yung shuttle para makita natin paano siya nagiging, paano na-regenerate yung kailangan para ma-shuttle yung mga citrates natin. Oh. So, you have your oxaloacetate which can be used to form malate. So, when it reacts further to form malate, the malate is now something that the inner mitochondrial membrane has a transporter for. So, the malate can cross the inner mitochondrial membrane by using the malate transporter, and now you have the malate inside the matrix. So, the malate inside the matrix can be used to regenerate the oxaloacetate now. So, meron ka na ulit oxaloacetate which is free to react with acetyl-CoA once again. So, yun yung nangyayari sa tinatawag nating citrate-malate shuttle system. Okay? So, dito yung key point na interest natin. You've already allowed the acetyl-CoA to be regenerated across the membrane of your mitochondria. So, may acetyl-CoA ka na sa cytosol, you are free to proceed to the rest of the steps of your lipogenesis. Okay? Next. So, the next step of your lipogenesis is the formation of malonyl-CoA. So, formation of malonyl-CoA occurs with the help of an enzyme called acetyl-CoA carboxylase. So, acetyl-CoA carboxylase, being a carboxylase enzyme, will require a coenzyme known as biotin or vitamin B7. So, biotin or vitamin B7 is the coenzyme required by acetyl-CoA carboxylase to form malonyl-CoA. Okay? So, how do you make malonyl-CoA? You get a carbon dioxide. Kaya nga, carboxyl is COO. Carboxylation reaction. You're adding the COO to the end of the acetyl-CoA in order to form your malonyl-CoA. So, this reaction is actually the rate-limiting step of lipogenesis. It's not one of the reactions in the repetitive steps. No? The rate-limiting step here is the formation of malonyl-CoA, and the rate-limiting enzyme is the acetyl-CoA carboxylase complex. Okay? So, this reaction occurs when cellular ATP levels are high. So, this reaction is so when do you know that your cellular ATP levels are high? Well, pag mataas yung insulin mo, Ibig sabihin, your glucose is allowed entry into the cell. So, ano ba kasi yung ginagawa ng insulin? Ba't lagi na lang importante na marami kang insulin? So, if you have a cell, and then you have a glucose molecule, so meron kang glucose, di ba? Glucose is a head source. So, you have a glucose that wants to enter into the cell. Your glucose cannot just freely enter the cell. You need a doorman. So, the doorman, di ba, parang pag pumasok ko ngayon sa mga convenience store, may tagabukas na ng pinto. Ang tagabukas ng pinto para makapasok itong si glucose sa loob ng 7-Eleven ay yung insulin. So, kapag walang insulin, hindi niya kayang pumasok. So, kahit marami kang insulin, kahit marami kang glucose na kinakain, hindi siya ma-utilize ng cell mo because it cannot enter the cell without insulin. Okay? So, that is what insulin does to your body. So, kapag marami kang insulin, therefore, the cells are able to take in the glucose. Therefore, they have high cellular ATP. Okay? So, pag marami ka namang glucose, syempre, the more you have glucose, the more you produce pyruvate, the more you produce acetyl-CoA, the more you produce citrate in the first step of the Krebs cycle. So, these are the indicators na mataas yung cellular levels, na cellular ATP levels natin. Okay? Next, the formation of malonyl-CoA is also inhibited by the action of glucagon and epinephrine. Why? Kasi di ba pag fight or flight situation ka for epinephrine, yung adrenaline rush tinatawag, kunyari hinahabol ka ng zombie. So, your body is expending a lot of energy. And your body does not want to waste its time or energy in storing. Bakit siya magsustor ng energy kung kailangan niya nga mag-expend? So, here, if you have if the epinephrine goes up, then your body will inhibit lipogenesis. Kasi nga, you do not want to be storing energy when you are in a situation wherein you will need to readily access it. Okay? Next, your glucagon is also an inhibitor of the formation of malonyl-CoA. Why? Kasi yung glucagon mo is released in times of fasting, in times of starvation. So, kapag wala ka makain, mababa yung glucose level mo. Mababa na nga yung glucose level mo, gusto mo pang mag-store. So, wala nang natira sa'yo, diba? So, rather than lipogenesis, your glucagon will favor beta oxidation para ma-restore yung glucose levels. Okay? Next. So, the next step is something we call the ACP complex formation. So, sabi natin kanina, the carrier for lipogenesis is the acyl carrier proteins rather than CoA. So, diba? So, here, yung acetyl-CoA mo will become acetyl-ACP, your malonyl-CoA will become malonyl-ACP. So, that's just the reaction in the ACP complex formation. So, now let's go into the repetitive steps of fatty acid biosynthesis, the first of which is your condensation. So, from here on out, the enzyme responsible will be fatty acid synthase complex. So, paulit-ulit na lang itong mga steps natin na mga kasunod. And they are catalyzed by the same enzyme, which is fatty acid synthase complex. Okay? And it's very easy to remember kasi it's a synthase of your fatty acids. So, very easy to remember na itong nangyayari sa fatty acid biosynthesis. You just have to remember the steps and the order in which the reactions occur. So, the first one is condensation. So, di ba sa condensation, di ba, yun yung fusion. So, nagsasama lang tayo ng dalawang molecules together. So, kumbaga sa pen, pineapple, apple. Pineapple, pen. Ganun yung nangyayari sa condensation. You have an acetyl, and then you have a malonyl produced earlier from the formation of malonyl-CoA. So, you have an acetyl-ACP plus a malonyl-ACP to form an aceto-acetyl-ACP. So, your acetyl-ACP has 2 carbons. Okay? Your malonyl-ACP has 3 carbons. So, 3 plus 2 should be 5. But here, it happens to be 4. Bakit 4? Because one of the carbons becomes carbon dioxide. Okay? So here, you have acetyl-ACP, malonyl-ACP plus malonyl-ACP to form aceto-acetyl-ACP and carbon dioxide. So, a total of 5 carbons pa din siya. Yung isa lang ay naging free carbon dioxide. Okay? Next. So, the next reaction after condensation is now reduction, also known as hydrogenation. So, hydrogenation, reduction. I forgot to put hydrogenation here. So, hydrogenation occurs in the second step. No? So, you have aceto-acetyl-ACP reacting with the reducing agent. So the reducing agent occurs during the reduction, is active during the reduction phases. So, reduction reaction. So the reducing agent is NADPH derived from the pentose phosphate pathway. So NADPH and H+. So itong mga H na to will actually bind to the keto group. Magiging ganito, CHOH on the beta carbon. So yung keto group on the beta carbon becomes reduced into an alcohol. So yung acetyl ACP becomes a beta hydroxybutyryl ACP kasi nasa beta carbon yung hydroxyl mo. Okay? Next. The third reaction is a dehydration reaction. Diba sabi natin sa beta oxidation, we had oxidation, hydration, oxidation, thylysis. Here we have condensation. Condensation, reduction, dehydration, and then reduction again. So, parang reverse lang siya ng other reactions that we've done. So, the opposite of thylysis here is your condensation. The opposite of reduction is, of oxidation is reduction. The opposite of hydration is dehydration. So, what here happens here is the alcohol is dehydrated to form a trans double bond. So, what happens? Meron kang OH dito. Then you have an H over here. So, matatanggal siya, magiging H2O. Ito, para ma-complete yung octet, a double bond will actually form. Okay? So, well, hindi dyan. Dito, hindi pala dyan. Dito yung matatanggal ng isang H. Sorry about that. So, dito, isang H here, tapos yung OH here to form yung H2O. So, you will form the trans double bond and thus forming your crotonyl ACP. Okay, so remember that the bond will be a trans double bond. Okay, next. So the fourth step of fatty acid elongation is reduction step once again, or hydrogenation step once again. What happens here? Yung hydrogens ng NADPH plus H will be added across the trans double bond using the fatty acid synthase complex, and the alcohol is mali yung description over here. So what happens here is hydrogens are added to the alpha and the beta carbons respectively in order to form your butyryl ACP. So what happens next? The cycle is, so meron ka na ditong meron ka na ditong 4 carbon na fatty acid complex. So fatty acyl meron ka na ditong 4 carbon na fatty acyl. So what happens? The cycle will repeat once again in order to add 2 carbons at the time. Okay? So ang mangyayari, mag-add ka ulit ng 2 carbon, and then 2 carbon, and then another 2 carbons, and then another 2 carbons until ma-reach mo yung desired length of the fatty acids. Okay? Let's go through a rundown of what happened though. You have an acetyl ACP, which is a 2-carbon molecule, plus a malonyl ACP. You condense them together to form acetyl ACP, which is a 4-carbon molecule, plus a carbon dioxide. Then you have your acetoacetyl ACP undergo hydrogenation to form beta-hydroxybutyryl ACP using the NADPH derived from the pentose phosphate pathway. And then you have your when you have your beta-hydroxybutyryl ACP undergo dehydration, you form your crotonyl ACP. And crotonyl ACP will undergo hydrogenation using once again NADPH to form butyryl ACP. So butyryl kasi 4 yung carbons nung nitong acyl group. Acyl na naka-attach sa ACP. Okay? Next. So, ito yung nangyari, acetyl ACP. 4 steps, you produce the fatty acid once again. Na, this time, it's already 4 carbons. So, you repeat the cycle, yung 4 carbons mo, magiging 6 carbons na fatty acid. And then, you repeat it over and over and over and over until you get an fatty acid that is 16 carbons long. So, ganun yung nangyayari dito sa lipogenesis. Okay? So, itong disynthesize natin at this point, if you remember, is all just a yung na-synthesize mo here is just a saturated fatty acid. What if you want to create an unsaturated fatty acid? Creating an unsaturated fatty acid requires the presence of molecular oxygen. Kasi the reaction that happens is oxidation or dehydrogenation. So, hydrogen is removed and combined with O2 to form water. So, ang nangyayari dito, you remove 2 hydrogens, you dehydrogenate, you add it to oxygen. Okay? And what happens is you form a double bond. So that is what happens when you want to form your unsaturated fatty acids. So, in humans, double bonds can be only introduced in 2 places, between C4 and C5, and between C9 and C10. Kaya nga yung mga essential fatty acids natin, di ba, naalala nyo, the essential fatty acids are fatty acids that are essential because the body needs them, and it is essential that you include them in your body, in your diet, because your body is not able to synthesize. Kasi di ba, your essential fatty acids natin, si linoleic, and linolenic, ang double bonds nila is on C9 and C12. So, so hindi sila makagawa ng double bonds na C12, C15, so sa linoleic and linolenic acids, so hindi nila mapaproduce yung mga double bonds beyond C9. So yung double bonds sa C12 sa C15, hindi na kayang gawin ng katawan natin. That's why you have to include these things in your diet. Okay? So, let's compare and contrast your beta oxidation and lipogenesis because it makes it easier for us to remember the differences. Your beta oxidation occurs in the mitochondrial matrix. Your lipogenesis occurs in the cytosol. Kaya nga, kailangan natin ng shuttle in order to facilitate these events, di ba? Kasi your beta oxidation, the raw material is your fatty acid. So, your fatty acid, if you want to break it down, you have to shuttle it using carnitine. Diba? Sa Fit and Right, kaya siya ginagamit na marketing term kasi gumagamit ng carnitine to break down your fats. Okay? So to shuttle the fatty acids if you want to break them down. So, you use a carnitine shuttle in beta oxidation. Meanwhile, in lipogenesis, if you have acetyl-CoA and you want to bring it outside of the mitochondria, use the citrate malate shuttle. Okay? The rate-limiting enzymes for each of these processes are different, of course. For beta oxidation, the rate-limiting enzyme is carnitine palmitoyltransferase 1. For lipogenesis, the rate-limiting enzyme is acetyl-CoA carboxylase. Next, sa beta oxidation, you have different repetitive steps. It's oxidation, hydration, oxidation, thiolysis. Sa lipogenesis, it's different. It's condensation, reduction, dehydration, reduction. So, para lang siyang reverse pag biniligtad mo yung process nila. Okay? The products of beta oxidation are acetyl-CoA, NADH, and FADH2, while the product of lipogenesis is your palmitic acid. Your beta oxidation is stimulated by high glucagon levels kasi kailangan mong mag-replenish ng glucose levels in your blood. Kailangan mong mag-burn ng fats in order to provide energy. Meanwhile, your lipogenesis is stimulated by high insulin levels. Kasi kapag marami kang insulin, marami kang energy excess inside the cell, therefore, you're free to store your energy for future use. Okay? So now we're done with fatty acids. We'll now go into the biosynthesis of cholesterol. So, cholesterol is another one of the lipids that we already that we discussed, diba? So, if you remember, cholesterol, the structure for cholesterol, the cholesterol is a 27 carbon ring. Meron tayong tatlong cyclohexane. Meron tayong isang cyclopentane fused together dito sa C27 molecule natin known as cholesterol. So, the process of cholesterol is very long and convoluted. It requires 27 steps. So, hindi na natin pagdadaanan yung 27 steps na yun. Tandaan nyo lang that the synthesis of cholesterol requires 18 molecules of acetyl-CoA and it involves 27 enzymatic steps that we will not go into detail. Ang tatandaan nyo sa biosynthesis of cholesterol is the rate-limiting step, which is the formation of something called mevalonate. So, in the rate-limiting step, the enzyme responsible is HMG-CoA reductase. The enzyme responsible is HMG-CoA reductase. So, daanan lang natin briefly yung sa biosynthesis of cholesterol kasi hindi naman natin siya totoxic yan. Wala naman siyang practical application to our lives as medtechs. Basta, I just want you to have an idea on how it was formed, okay? So here, in biosynthesis of cholesterol, you take 3 molecules of acetyl-CoA, you fuse them together to form mevalonate. So, there are several steps that you do in order to reach the mevalonate. So, dito sa step na to, dito sa part na to, mo makikita itong si HMG-CoA reductase. Okay? Next. So, you fuse 3 acetyl-CoAs. So, tatlong carbon times tatlong acetyl-CoA times 2 carbons per acetyl-CoA. Therefore, you make a C6 compound. Okay? Next, your mevalonate will undergo several steps to produce an isoprene called isopentenyl pyrophosphate. So, in this step, you use 3 ATPs to produce this isopentenyl pyrophosphate. So, ang nangyari dito, this is an energy expending phase of the cycle, no? Of the process rather. Okay? Next, you have an isopentenyl pyrophosphate. You want to form a squalene. So, squalene is an acyclic na compound, no? So, what happens here is you put 6 of these isopentenyl pyrophosphate units together. So, 6 times 5, you produce a carbon 30 30 carbon na molecule. Okay? So, then you convert your squalene into an alcohol known as lanosterol. So, dito na magpo-form yung multi-ring system in the formation of lanosterol from squalene. You form the multi-ring system as well as you add your OH. Okay? Next, so in converting your lanosterol to cholesterol, gagamit ka rin ng several steps. So, ang nangyari, since from C30, pero since cholesterol only has 27 carbons, you will actually remove 3 na methyl groups. So, 3 methyl groups ang natanggal before you produce your cholesterol. So, and then there is also some movement of double bonds happening around, pero hindi na natin yun to-toxicate. Okay? So, remember the steps. There are 3. You need 3 acetyl-CoAs reacting together, going through several steps to form mevalonate. So, in the steps, makikita mo, in one of those steps is the creation of mevalonate using the enzyme HMG-CoA reductase. So, and then your mevalonate is converted to a 5-carbon molecule, isopentenyl pyrophosphate. You put 6 of these together to put your squalene, which is not cyclic. Your squalene becomes cyclic during its conversion to lanosterol, wherein you also add hydroxyls or yung mga alcohols, kaya siya naging sterol. Okay? And then if you have lanosterol, you want to convert it to cholesterol. Lanosterol being C30, you will need to remove 3 methyl groups para ma-reach mo yung desired number of 27 carbons. Okay? Next, so let's go lang to the clinical correlations as far as biosynthesis of cholesterol is concerned. So, if you are familiar with yung mga hyperlipidemic drugs natin, yung mga drugs na ginagamit na maintenance against cholesterol. For example, simvastatin, rosuvastatin, atorvastatin. I'm sure yung senior parents take these drugs as maintenance. So, these drugs serves as competitive inhibitors of the enzyme HMG-CoA reductase, which as we mentioned, is the rate-limiting step of cholesterol biosynthesis. So, these statin drugs are very effective in lowering plasma LDL and total cholesterol. Kaya siya yung piniprescribe natin to those with hypercholesterolemia, as in mataas yung cholesterol levels in the blood, as well as used to prevent adverse cardiovascular effects in these individuals. Okay? So, here is a summary lang ng mga correlations between the between your carbohydrate metabolism as well as your fat metabolism, no? So, your glycerol can enter glycolysis and gluconeogenesis by being converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So that is one of the intersection points. Another thing is pyruvate becomes oxidized to acetyl-CoA. The acetyl-CoA becomes the raw material for the synthesis of cholesterol. It also becomes the raw material for the synthesis of fatty acids. Dito pala yun. So, acetyl-CoA becomes the raw material for the synthesis of fatty acids via lipogenesis. Your fatty acids can be broken down once they're taken out of the mitochondria once they enter the mitochondria via the beta oxidation pathway. And then your acetyl-CoA can also be used to generate your tinatawag nating ketone bodies. Okay? So, that's my last slide. Thank you for listening.